G'day and welcome to another episode of Ranger Touring. I'm going to be going through my favourite campsites. If you've already seen my last video, this will be an update as I've gone to a lot more places since filming that original video. There'll be in no particular order. I'm going to talk you through how to get there, where they are, some of the facilities and the things to do. Tune in for this episode. So the first one is the Wall Campground. This is located in Croombit Tops, which is about an hour and a half south of Rockhampton. The Wall Campground follows the loop track, which is a 4-drive accessible track. You can probably take a camper trailer down here, but I probably wouldn't recommend it. The track in is quite rocky, steep, and undulated. Once you get there though, you're located in a small grassy field, which has enough space for about 2 groups. Whilst we were there was 3 cars in our group, and there was another 2 cars, and that reasonably filled up the spot. There wasn't any toilets located in this area, so you had to be self-sufficient. This was booked through the Queensland National Park, so therefore it was about $6 to $7 a night. So things to do whilst you're there. Obviously all the 4 drive tracks in the area, there's Razorback track and the loop track itself, but as well as that too, there's the B2 Bomber walk, which I would highly recommend doing. It's a great bit of history, it's quite an eye-opening scene when you get there. I'd highly recommend camping in this spot as it gives you a great opportunity to go out and have a look at different things. How long would I recommend staying there? Probably only the night. It's an overnighter, but a great one at that. The next campsite is called Murrymory. It's located between Cameron's Corner, which is the corner of New South Wales, Queensland and South Australia. And it's just short of the old Strzelecki track and about 20 k's short of the new Strzelecki track. Murrymory is situated off the track on the edge of a giant sand dune. It's a really picturesque spot. So how do you get there? You've got to either come from Cameron's Corner or the Strzelecki track. If you're heading out that way though, there's not a lot, there's no reception, so sat phone and stuff like that is extremely important. Who could get there? Practically any vehicle. It is corrugated on the way out there, but an all-wheel drive vehicle would be fine. There is no facilities at Murrymory whatsoever, so you need to be self-sufficient. Fees, it's a free campsite, and I found it on WikiCamps. There's not a whole lot of things to do whilst you're out at Murrymory. However, it's definitely a very picturesque spot, and I'd highly recommend it just for an overnighter whilst you're doing that transit from the Strzelecki track to Cameron's Corner or vice versa. Sitting up on the dune and having a beer is an excellent way to park up for the night. Next one up is Cave Hill Quarry. Cave Hill Quarry is about 70 odd k's outside of Eromanga, which is another 200 odd outside of Quilpie, which is I guess the next major town over. Cave Hill Quarry I found on WikiCamps. As the name suggests, it's an old quarry site, but don't let that fool you, it's an incredibly nice spot. You'll need the GPS to find the spot as there's no real notable landmarks, and the actual Cave Hill itself is a bit further off the road, so it's hard to see. So you will need to know that that spot is there. Once you're there, any vehicle could go in, 2-wheel drive, 4-wheel drive, caravans, large caravans, there's plenty of space. A lot of the area is quite solid with big sort of gravel areas to drive on and find your exact spot. From there you can kind of pick where you want to camp. There's lots of spaces to choose from, lots of firewood hanging around as well, so you can have an awesome fire. And then what probably drew us to this spot the most was when you head up at night, watching the sunset is just spectacular. Cannot recommend this spot enough. We had the whole place to ourselves and it was just incredible. There is no facilities again. It's another spot where you have to be self-sufficient. Fees, no fees whatsoever. It is a free campsite. Like I said, things to do, there's not a huge amount. It's definitely an overnighter kind of spot, but it is just spectacular. You're really out in the middle of nowhere, and you really got to be able to appreciate, I guess, the scenery, but it is spectacular. And again, highly recommend. Next one up is Mount Terrible. Mount Terrible is in the Victorian high country, and the spot I'm thinking of is just down the road from the Mount Terrible fire station lookout, which in itself is a great place to go to as well. To get there, you head in through Jameson, and then you'll see a track turning off, which is the Mount Terrible track. It's a reasonably steep track for your full drive. You'll definitely need to be in low range, but I've towed the trailer up there before, so it's not too steep. From there, you'll head sort of up over a number of crests before hitting the station. Right towards the end, not too far on the other side of it, you'll sort of see a runoff to a very top of a crest, and that's where we parked up for the night. That spot is definitely one of my favorite spots. Again, you get those awesome high country views. Sometimes if you wake up in the morning there, you'll be above the clouds, and as well as that too, you get to watch the sunset go down. There's plenty of firewood out there, and you definitely need a fire if you're in the Victorian high country. Facilities, once again, there are no facilities in this location. Fees, it's a free campsite. Obviously the four driving is the thing to do in the high country. You wouldn't go there and park up for a number of days with children. It's definitely a spot where you transit through on your way around the high country. But again, I cannot recommend this spot enough. It was one of the first spots I ever camped in the high country with a big group, and I've been there about 2 to 3 times since. The next one, although these aren't ranked in any particular order, I probably would almost go as far as saying that this is the best campsite that I've ever been to in terms of the views and just the general scenery around you. This spot is at the top of the Grampians. This is at the top of Launders Track, so if you go that way, it's definitely well worth it. Otherwise, there is a different way to get there, which is along Wallaby Rocks Road. From there, again, I found this site on Wiki Camps. It's just a little offshoot, and it ends up on the edge of a clearing of a massive cliff, and you're overlooking the whole Grampians. Definitely worth the spot. Facilities, there are no facilities in this location. You need to be self-sufficient. It is a free campsite, as far as I can find. That's what it says on Wiki Camps. A lot of these high country style tracks, there's not massive amounts of things to do, and you don't stay in the same location all the time. Great transit through, but a great place to set up with a group, have a few beers and just relax at the top of the hill. There was an okay amount of firewood. You did kind of have to go looking for it, but again, would highly recommend this spot. Keep in mind that a lot of the Grampians again is seasonally closed, so therefore you won't be able to access this track between about April and October. So this last campsite doesn't necessarily have a name. It kind of looks to me like a bit of a helicopter landing pad or something like that in the high country. It's just pretty much a flat top in the middle of the high country. I went to this spot about 3 or 4 times. It was definitely a go-to spot for me, and if you're taking people to the high country for the first time from where I was living, it was a quick place to go to because it was the easiest to sort of access. You definitely didn't need, a tricked out 4-wheel drive to get there. Like any high country track, you pretty much just needed a low range gearbox to get it done. I went there with the trailer. I've also gone without the trailer. I've taken the dog, without the dog, different ways of doing it, but all the time I had an awesome time at this place. It's off Jameson Eildon Road, and you take the Taylors Creek track through till you're going down to the bottom of Lake Eildon. From there, there'll be a little sort of turn off to the right-hand side, and you follow that up and it'll just come to this clearing on the top of the hill. Reason why I love this spot so much is that when you wake up in the morning, it's just completely open. There's just spectacular views in 360 degrees, and you're quite exposed to the sun and everything like that. So on a cold sort of morning, it's absolutely beautiful. There's 0 facilities, once again, and it's also a free campsite. From there, you can go check out Lake Eildon, and you can continue on and do the high country stuff from there. Funny enough, it's actually just down the road from Mount Terrible, so you can kind of link those 2 campsites and have those as your spots on a trip. So that ends my next couple of favourite campsites. I'm going to continue to update this list and release more videos so that you can plan your trips around Australia. Thanks for tuning in.